So here's an interesting question. I have this old PulseSecure, it's a PulseSecure VPN box that has been erased, so it has nothing on it. And so it's old, and the question is, can we use this chassis for something else? Could we install Linux on it and use it as a time server or a DNS server? And so we're going to dig into it and see if we can do something else with it other than what was intended. These little lights here, they look vaguely familiar. Those who are Supermicro fans might recognize those are very much the Supermicro logo layout. And so I suspect it may be a Supermicro board inside, which gives us good hope of being able to make it do more than it did originally. So I'll crack it open and let's see what it looks like. Okay, I've cracked it open, and a couple of interesting things. It is indeed a Supermicro motherboard. Appears to be relatively generic. It is an X10 SLH-F, which I looked up, and it is a motherboard kind of intended for some OEM design applications. It has this little riser card here for the slot for this network card, which also is a Supermicro little 1 gig network card. There was a drive here. There isn't one in this one, but the drive was taken out and recycled. But clearly there's a drive there that it booted from. And then this front panel there were a couple screws that held it in and a couple snaps. And you can see that from the front, you can see there's a little console port, a management network port. That was a covered USB port, and then these ports here. When you pop this off, underneath the PSA 5000 logo is a VGA port. So that was there all along, you just couldn't see it. And if you look at the board itself, there's actually 2 USB ports here, only one of them exposed, and then a stack of them here that are also just not exposed. Serial port there, another console port there, I said VGA there. And otherwise, it looks to be a kind of a generic Supermicro motherboard, you know, little Supermicro ATX-like power supply. And so we're going to try hooking up a monitor to this and seeing if it works. There also are USB ports there. So if we need more than one USB port for booting something, those are the relatively standard USB interface on a motherboard, a pretty standard cable. I think I have one of those. And so I'm going to get a little monitor set up here, and we're going to see if I plug it in and power it on, do we see something in the BIOS maybe that we can get into? So let's give it a crack. Okay, I powered it up with a cable, and sure enough, it says Supermicro. System initializing. I have a little keyboard here, and so I should be able to do something with this. So it's doing some system checking right now. Not super fast at booting, it appears, but we'll let it run through whatever tests it's doing here. Probably a memory test, I would guess, right now. And we'll see if we can do something in the BIOS. I have a keyboard plugged into the little front USB port. There it goes. The little VGA thing there. There we are. Let's hit delete and see if we can get into the BIOS. A little Intel boot agent for the onboard NIC. Oh, there we are in the BIOS. Version 3.0C. I'll have to see if that's the latest version or not. Let's see here. You can tell, oh yeah, look at that. See how slow it is to redraw? That tells you that the console redirection must be turned on. In fact, we'll scroll on here and see. I bet you it is turned on for, yep, console redirection is turned on for COM2. So one of these 2 COM ports probably has the same output on it. So you could actually do it without even having the VGA and the keyboard. You could do it over that console apparently. So that's kind of cool. We can turn that off once we're done. Let's see. So IPMI is there. So we should be able to go into the BMC network configuration and at least configure it. This is an old version of the BMC. I'm pretty sure 1.92 is pretty old. And I downloaded from their website, what I think is a newer version. So I'll have to see if I can get it installed on a flash key, and we'll try updating the BMC to a newer version. Obviously, you can pick the boot device, whether it be USB disk or if you install a hard drive. And so I think this will work as a relatively generic platform. It's probably a pretty slow CPU. Let's take a look here and see CPU configuration. I bet you it's something slow. Intel Pentium G3420 at 3.2 gigahertz. That isn't terrible. It's slow, but not too terrible. Certainly enough to run Linux, to make a small device out of it, either a firewall if you want to put in, let's say, a 4 or 8 port NIC card here. Yeah, so we can certainly do something with this. I think to boot, there's only one USB exposed, so I'm going to grab a USB header, and let's see if power button doesn't do anything right now. Let's unplug it. So let me grab a little USB header that will plug into that and see if we can get this thing to boot into FreeDOS. Okay, so I found a little cable, a little USB cable. So I can plug in a little USB key there, power it on. We're going to hit F11 to go to the boot menu. Let's see if it sees the USB key in its default configuration, which is right there. Let's see if it allows me to boot from that. There it is. You can see how slow it is as it was redrawing the screen. So we'll try USB, because it's going over the serial console. So I want to turn off that serial redirection at some point here. And there we are. Now it's booting up FreeDOS. This should work. Let's see here. Yeah. Return to DOS. Okay. All right. Now we're in FreeDOS here, and I can use this. I can go get the BIOS and the BMC updates from Supermicro and run them under FreeDOS to reflash the BIOS and the BMC with potentially the latest version I can get for this relatively old board. But it does appear that we can use this for something like maybe a little Linux server of some kind, and I actually have 2 of them, so another one's sitting there. So I'm going to grab the other one and make sure it works the same way. I think it will, and then we should be able to at least get Linux installed on a little small hard drive I can put in there, maybe a little SSD. So if you happen to run into one of these Pulse Secure devices, especially these older ones, they're definitely hackable. And in a previous video, the one where I was giving you a tour of my HOMELAB, I talked about, in fact, I'll show you. I talked about the Cisco ASAs being very similar. And I mentioned that I have a couple of those here. And these Cisco ASAs also are a somewhat generic, it's not a Supermicro, it's a Cisco-made board, but that I was able to get them to run Linux, and it was very similar. The only thing that was different was that these internally have a little header that says VGA on it, and I just probed around until I figured out which pins were the horizontal and vertical sync and the video outputs. And I was able to get a video output, and there was also a USB jack on there. And so I was able to get into the BIOS, and in the BIOS there was an option called like OpROM auto execute. And if you turn that off, then it doesn't run Cisco's own ROM, and it then just tries to boot like a normal x86 box. And so I put in a USB key and some new, blank SSD drives, and I was able to install Linux on them and then configure them. So that went really easily. So very similar technique to the other box. It's just you have to put make a little jumper to go from that VGA output on there to then a VGA monitor, so you can see what's going on. I think that one didn't have console redirection turned on by default, so you wouldn't normally be able to see that. But if you happen to run into one of these Pulse devices, you now know how to make it into a somewhat generic, if not low-powered, Linux device. And that's it for now.